Ruby Carter had dealt with bad days before, but this one felt cursed from the start. Her editor had killed her latest investigative piece, her coffee spilled all over her laptop, and her landlord decided today was the perfect time to raise her rent. By the time the sun dipped below the Chicago skyline, she needed an escape. Running always helped. It was her therapy, her way of shutting out the noise of a city that never stopped moving. Throwing on a hoodie and her worn-out sneakers, Ruby hit the pavement, her breath forming small clouds in the chilly night air. The streets buzzed with life, cars honking, distant sirens wailing, the occasional drunk couple arguing over where to get takeout. She turned down a quieter path near an old warehouse district, her pace steady, music pulsing in her ears. Then she heard it, metal scraping, hurried footsteps. A sharp chill ran down her spine. Slowing down, she glanced toward a dark alley. A figure shifted in the shadows. Before she could react, flashing red and blue lights flooded the street. "Ma'am, stop right there!" Two cops approached, hands on their holsters. Something in their eyes made her stomach drop. This wasn't a routine stop. Ruby barely had time to process what was happening before the officers closed in. The taller one, a broad-shouldered man with a stiff posture and a face that looked like it hadn't cracked a smile in years, took the lead. His badge read Sergeant Alex Trent. The name alone sent a ripple of unease through her. She had heard it before, whispers in backroom conversations, buried in case files she wasn't supposed to see. "Step forward, hands where I can see them," Trent ordered, his tone clipped and commanding. Ruby yanked out her earbuds, heart hammering. "What's this about?" The second officer, younger and visibly uncomfortable, shifted on his feet. But Trent didn't hesitate. He pulled a small plastic baggie from his pocket and held it up like it was Exhibit A in a case already closed. "We got a tip about suspicious activity in the area," he said, shaking the bag slightly. A fine white powder swirled inside. "And look what we just found." Ruby froze. Her pulse roared in her ears. "Are you serious?" she scoffed. "That's not mine." Trent smirked, the kind of grin that made her blood run cold. "That's funny, because it was right where you were standing." Something about his confidence set off every alarm in her brain. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. She took a step back, instincts screaming at her to run. But before she could react, strong hands wrenched her arms behind her back. Cold steel snapped around her wrists. "Whoa, whoa, wait," she protested, twisting against the cuffs. "I didn't do anything." "Tell it to the judge," Trent said smugly, tightening his grip as he shoved her toward the squad car. The night air suddenly felt suffocating. A small crowd had gathered, curious onlookers whispering, their faces a mix of concern and morbid curiosity. Ruby's cheeks burned, but not with shame, with rage. As she was forced into the back seat, she locked eyes with Trent through the rearview mirror. His smirk hadn't faded. That's when she knew this wasn't just about her. This was bigger. And if they thought she was just going to sit back and let them get away with it, they were dead wrong. The holding cell was a nightmare. The air was thick with sweat, desperation, and the kind of regret that clung to the walls like old graffiti. Ruby sat on the cold metal bench, her arms wrapped around herself, replaying the last hour over and over. The cuffs had left red marks on her wrists, but it wasn't the physical discomfort that made her skin crawl. It was the feeling of being trapped, of being outplayed in a game she didn't even know she was part of. Across from her, a woman with sharp eyes and a smirk that had seen too much let out a dry laugh. "Let me guess," she drawled. "You got caught jaywalking? Or did they say you looked at 'em funny?" Ruby exhaled sharply, trying to ignore her, but the woman wasn't done. "Nah, you don't got that dumb luck criminal vibe. You got the, I just got royally screwed over look." She wasn't wrong. "Ruby," she muttered. "Shelley," the woman replied, stretching out like she owned the place. "So what did they say you did?" Ruby clenched her jaw. "Possession?" Shelley whistled. "Damn, rookie mistake, babe. Cops love pinning that one on people. Easy charges, no real effort. Let me guess, you pissed off the wrong guy?" The words sent a shiver down Ruby's spine. The wrong guy. She thought about Sergeant Trent and the way his smirk had never wavered, like he knew she wouldn't be walking free anytime soon. This wasn't random. She had spent years digging into corruption, exposing hidden truths, unraveling stories others wanted buried. Had she gotten too close to something? Had she uncovered something without even realizing it? Her mind raced. The articles she had written, the stories she was working on. Then it hit her like a punch to the gut. The case. Last month, she had been digging into an alleged bribery scandal involving high-ranking police officers. She hadn't published anything yet, but she had notes, records, a paper trail that pointed to something bigger. Trent wasn't just any cop. He was one of the names on that list. A chill crept up her spine. This wasn't about drugs. This was about silencing her. Ruby's fingers curled into fists. If they thought locking her up would stop her, they had no idea who they were dealing with. The courtroom was colder than the cell had been. Not physically, no. The air here was crisp and controlled, the kind of manufactured chill designed to keep people on edge. But Ruby wasn't just on edge. She was seething. She stood at the defendant's table, her wrists no longer cuffed but still red from the hours spent in holding. Across from her, Sergeant Trent lounged in his seat like he was watching a game he had already won. His younger partner sat beside him, avoiding eye contact, his knee bouncing under the table. Guilty conscience? Good. The judge, a man whose expression was so stiff it could have been carved from stone, gave Ruby a once-over before addressing the courtroom. Miss Davis, you stand accused of possession of a controlled substance. How do you plead? Ruby's lawyer, a tired-looking public defender who smelled faintly of burnt coffee, leaned over and whispered, "Not guilty." Ruby didn't need the advice. "Not guilty," she said loud and clear. Trent smirked. The prosecution wasted no time. They painted her as reckless, a woman caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, except according to them, it wasn't the wrong place at all. It was exactly where she intended to be. She was seen loitering near an abandoned store, the prosecutor said, voice smooth, rehearsed. And when approached by officers, she became hostile. Upon further investigation, a bag containing an illegal substance was discovered. Trent took the stand next, his testimony as polished as his shoes. "We've had problems in that area before," he said. "Miss Davis's behavior was erratic. She refused to comply." Lies, every word. When it was her turn, Ruby took a slow breath and stepped forward. "With all due respect, Your Honor, this entire case is built on fiction." The judge arched an eyebrow. "I wasn't loitering. I was jogging. And Sergeant Trent?" She turned to him, holding his gaze. "He's lying. He planted that evidence." Gasps rippled through the room. Trent's smirk twitched. "Gotcha." Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. "Miss Davis, no." Ruby's voice cut through the room like a blade. "I have proof." And with that, she pulled out the flash drive. Trent's face finally lost its smug confidence. Ruby smiled. Checkmate. Ruby's story is more than just a tale of injustice. It's a reminder that truth and resilience can shatter even the most carefully constructed lies. In life, there will always be people who abuse their power, who manipulate situations for their own gain. But as Ruby proved, staying silent is never the answer. This story teaches us 3 key lessons. First, always trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Second, knowledge is power. Ruby's ability to gather evidence and stay composed in the face of corruption saved her. In the real world, knowing your rights can make all the difference. Finally, never underestimate persistence. Even when the odds seem stacked against you, standing firm in the face of injustice can turn the tide. In a world where corruption exists, it takes courage to fight back. But as Ruby showed, the truth, when armed with determination, always finds a way out. Thank you for watching the video. Please comment number 1 to let us know that you have watched the whole video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to support us. Thank you very much.